So here's the thing. If you're outside doing a shoot and suddenly the weather changes, or maybe if it's just going to be like that day, you're potentially going to get rained on. Now, when that happens, you have two options. Either you pack up and go, or you try to make the shoot happen by any means necessary. And personally for me, I don't like getting my gear wet at all. Even though it's weather sealed, even though it has all these things that protect it, I just don't like having anything happen to my gear whatsoever. So there is a solution I found that is very cost effective, and it's still pretty good for whoever needs it, and you can pretty much take it wherever you want. Now, just letting you know, I'm not sponsored or anything by this, but I figured I'd just show this off because I just got this in the mail like the other day. This is the Andaki, or I don't know how to say it. Yeah, Andaki rain poncho. It folds into like this small, so this is my hand, if you can see it there, and it has a whole thing that goes along with it. I'll show you pictures because it's going to be kind of hard to see on camera, but essentially what you want to do to get your own rain poncho, it doesn't matter what brand it is. It just matters on certain specifics that you have to go along with it. So I had the issue of being certain places where my gear was exposed, and if I had like a rain poncho or a jacket, the problem is that my bag was usually exposed as well, and that really scared me because I honestly personally don't care if I got moist, wet, etc. Because I personally didn't care if I got wet at all. But the problem is that my gear was always exposed behind me and potentially in front of me too. So I got two things that basically helped with this. And I'll just briefly discuss the first one, which is this cover for your camera. That's something I'll make in another video, but essentially it just covers your camera, and I think you can get ones that go up to like 600 meters. 600 millimeters. So basically it covers most of the long lenses. So you're covering your hands, but obviously your rest of you is exposed. So that's why in this video, we're talking about the poncho, because you're covering your backpack, your gear that is potentially not waterproof, and your backpack that's potentially not waterproof either. So here's a few things I learned when doing research. First off is that you want to get a good color, just because certain colors can impact different ways. And I'm just going to briefly go over this. If you're mostly a photographer for landscapes, you might want to get green, because green is going to go along with all the forest and along with all the shrubbery around you. Black is also a good option as well, because more or less the same thing. You can hide in shadows, and it's also good. The only thing you might have to worry about is at night, it just might be not visible. So, that could be a big issue if you're walking around somewhere, or you're, just trying to not get hurt in any way. Some things have reflective strips, but that's another thing that you can figure out on whichever one you end up buying. Personally, for me, those are the two options I would recommend, because they're very casual colors. You don't have to worry about them. They pretty much go with everything. If that's something that bothers you, like any bright color might be an issue. But the one thing I would say is a wild card is orange, because orange is good for like if you're stranded somewhere, or like you need it as a emergency stuff. Like that's much more visible. It's highly visible. It just depends where you are. If you're potentially gonna not want to be seen, then obviously go with the other two. But next part is that you want to have something that is long. And definitely look at the height charts for this. Definitely look at sizing charts and all the ways that you can get into it, because I did a lot of research, and some of them, you have to put obviously over your head. Some of them you can have button closures from the side, which means you can technically go in sideways from them, or like you can adjust them slightly from that side. I personally will get a slightly oversized one, because with your bag, it's going to go up a little bit. So like anything that's hanging behind you will basically raise up because of your bag, because you just have more space you have to cover. One thing you have to be aware of. Another feature that many don't really look at is the hood. The hood, because you have to be able to cover your head, and also you might want to have some visibility. And specifically for the Andaki one, I got one with a see-through plastic, because it actually lets you see from your peripheral, which means like definitely it makes it safer, but also it just makes it a lot easier to capture shots. It makes it easier to just be aware of your surroundings. I think that's one big feature that's really important. And it actually has a bill on top, which is clear as well. But mostly for the sides here, I think those are really important. Also, if you can adjust the drawstrings over here to make it tighter around your head, that's also really important, so you don't get splashed constantly and stuff doesn't go inside your on your clothing, because you don't want to risk anything getting damaged on the inside. That's the whole reason of the poncho. Now, here's a couple wild cards. First up is having a reflective strip, like I previously mentioned. The reflective strip just means you're safer. It means people can see you easier. Might just be a good thing to have, but obviously you can attach this later on by just buying a separate one or getting stickers, etc. Not a big deal, but it's a nice to have if you're wanting that just on the thing itself. Now, one thing I know for sure a lot of them don't have, or at least from my research didn't have, is a front pocket. Now, the front pocket especially, I personally think should not be Velcro, because that still can potentially come open, and it's a little bit easier to have water go in. I like the one, especially on this one, where it has like AquaGuard, or it has something where it's like plastic rubbery, or something that allows it to basically be waterproof. So having a front pocket that has especially that zip is going to make it so that whatever you have, like a phone or like anything that's potentially valuable and should not be exposed to water, that's something that you want to look out for. I think that's one of the biggest things to look out for on a poncho, because that you just need to worry about the least. So you can put like SD cards in for photography and videography, like different things like that play a big part, and I think will make your life a lot easier. Because I want the thought process, just go off on tangent a bit, but if you have to keep lifting the poncho up just to get whatever you need and then putting it back down, I think that kind of makes it unusable. Like you're basically neglecting what you bought it for. So I think having that pocket is absolutely crucial, even though it's a very small and subtle thing. Like you should be able to access most of your stuff without having to worry about, you know, taking it off and then putting it back on and like stuff. Like sometimes you cannot do that. Like I was actually at Niagara recently, just to give you a little context, and just because the wind shifted, it was like fine throughout the day, but the wind shifted, and obviously Niagara Falls is water constantly coming almost like rain, like heavy rain, and it was quite bad. So walking outside, you would have gotten completely destroyed in terms of water. And like even I think my family actually did for the most part. Like even me, I was completely drenched, and I was wearing stuff that wasn't exactly waterproof. So it's definitely a worth thing to think about, because you don't want to risk any of that. Just make sure you go along with that. I know I'm talking a lot about this, but I can't stress this enough. When you're going with gear, and you need to protect it as much as possible. And last but not least, I briefly touched on this earlier, but the adjustments on here are great. But I think also having like cuffs that are adjustable, or like that are potentially elastic, where like they can be open and closed easily, or that are just easily manipulated from whoever's wearing it, make it a lot more versatile. Because again, maybe someone puts on weight, loses weight, or maybe they are wearing something that makes them bigger, and then they have to cinch it a bit more or open it up a bit more. I think it's absolutely important, because sometimes you're wearing jackets and you can't have the same body that you bought it for when you're just not, you know, just wearing a t-shirt. So yeah, in a nutshell, I think those are a few things to look for in a poncho. I personally got this one, but you can literally get whatever you want. I just think look out for those specific things, those specific features, to give you a leg up, but also just to make your life a lot easier. So that being said, I really hope you enjoyed this video, got some value. If you want to see another cool one, be sure to look at this video over here, or check out the channel right over here. Also, if you want to hit me up on social media at all, it'll be somewhere on screen now or in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next video. Peace.